And I've been dreaming on in my head like I've seen it. A life worth living is a life with meaning. I'll do what I love till my heart stops beating. I'm feeding this demon. Got a taste, can't erase bitterness in my face. Work a job every day till your dreams fade away. Like a card, never change, play the game that we say. I need a break. I'm staying strong, need to move on to be what I want. I'll keep dreaming on. I'm staying strong, need to move on to be what I want. I'll keep dreaming on. Face on when I chase like that. Yeah, I play so strong with a knife in the back. I'ma swing home run like a baseball bat. Gonna see me rise, you can hate on that. I don't play both sides, doing me no cap. I'ma ride or die for my dreams on tap. I'ma fly real high, you ain't see me slack. No, it's not how you fall, it's how you get right back up. That's how you get tough. Calluses on my hands so rough, yeah, I call your bluff. I'm not the one, mess with me and come out with none. Cause I'm so done, you had your fun. And now you're gonna face down the barrel of the gun. Cause I got a full clip, put your name on it. But I'ma let you slide cause you ain't worth it. I'm staying strong, need to move on to be what I want. I'll keep dreaming on. I'm staying strong, need to move on to be what I want. I'll keep dreaming on.
And we are live! Hi, welcome everybody to our latest Storytime read. We do these each and every Thursday. We are doing our continued read-through of 11 Kingdoms. This is an original novel that we put together a few years back. We are now getting to actually going to try and release it publicly, officially in 2022 here. But we will see. We've still got a bit of editing to do, some cleanup, and other than that, not much, actually. We're going to be doing a lot more of the read-throughs, though. But we're going to only be doing this once a month now. We're going to start doing our anime fanfiction / fiction reads once a month. And we're also going to do a classic read once a month. But there's also a spot, as always, for you. If you have something you want us to read, and do a read-through story time like this, yeah, share it. You know, if you have a story that you really want to share with the world, hey, share it. We'll give a shout out to your work and product. You know, give us a chance to shout it out for you. Otherwise, yeah, we also do our art streams for Dining and Doodles. That's a little bit more, you know, everybody gets to go and request with those. We do those on Saturdays. And we also do our Let's Plays. We are going to be doing a few other things in the next few weeks with a couple different groups. We're going to be doing a anime ranking of intros and outros with part of the group that we do Anime Amazing and all that stuff. We'll be doing a little bit of that covering in a few weeks. But for now, we're going to get on with tonight's story. So where we left off, let's just cover. We left off officially that Fawn has, Jamie Eve, our game developer, who suffers from anxiety issues, deals with things. She has been sucked into the game unwillingly by a hacker that has hacked the system and has dragged her into the game using their Neuralink system in the game of 11 Kingdoms, which is a fictional sort of MMO where the world is vastly unclaimed and meant to be taken over and claimed by players throughout the world. And it's run by one of the biggest corporations in the world, in the history of the world. In fact, that is Black Clover. No relations to the manga. We actually had the title before they released the manga. So, just so you guys know. Alright, we are officially going to get started here. When we last left off, Jamie had finally reconvened with everybody and had gotten safe after a horrific encounter, and is now going to deal with issues as the game officially launches. So let's get on with Report. The game's afoot. Accessing personal logs, Fawn Mitten. Weeks pass, which turn into months. Spend the time not only trying to get to know Gavin a bit more despite the tension we have between each other, but also rebuilding my skills as a fighter. It's something I find I get better at with practice. I can't help but feel frustrated the actions before the accident could have been achieved by mainly hitting a set of keys in the right order on the pad before me. While I'm confined to this closed from the public end of the castle, I still can get all kinds of practice, mainly thanks to a request I made of Gavin to build a pocket dimension in the game that could only be accessed through a hidden door in my room of the castle. He outdid himself, showed in every detail. Looking upon the layout and design, I couldn't help but understand his frustration that I would be chosen over him to be the head designer for Onyx Tower, since I was still a fresh face out of college at the time. I even get used to the way he goes about talking funny in the game. It did puzzle me at first, how a person who staggered in their speech in person could pull off such an elaborate character with an end-game winning game. Then I was told by Rick and Moses that they designed a program to help him make his sentences complete. But as I trained with Gavin at my side the past few weeks, I learned the truth from him. As it turned out, it wasn't the only one with a social disorder in our little group. As time passed, I found that all our team members had a little issues. Melissa was a former alcoholic before the accident, but now she's returned to the bottle with all the worry and sorrow I put her through. Rick has anger issues. I did have to ask him about it, but as I saw the night before my run from the tower and the stories from Reeks about his past, I can now clearly see it. Moses grew up in a shut-in life, living in fear of street gangs that controlled the neighborhood of his youth. And now Gavin was OCD. It wasn't a classic way in most television shows or movies where a person shouts out vulgar language randomly. No, in the presence of women, Gavin would just hyperventilate, causing his labored breathing. He found it a way to work around his fact was to hide it behind MMOs, RPGs, such as a game provides. In many ways, Gabe is not there in his mind. Instead, Gavin, the hardy dwarven nursemaid of the princess, who doesn't have problems with girls, takes over. Not only can Gavin speak normally, but he can mimic accents. It's a trick I took up learning from him for a bit, but I never quite got told him my plans for the lesson in disguising my voice. Though the list of suspects hadn't changed. As I had grown close with Gavin over the past few weeks, I can seriously take the weakest listed name off the list. It only makes sense as a dwarf was with me at the time of the attacking as my servant, though he did not take action in the battle. It was because Central cut out his connection during the meeting along with the others. That except for the 13 grand heroes that made up the meeting. Melissa kept an eye on me when Gavin wasn't working with me on my training. Our conversations, however, were limited to actions of more immediate matters. I would gain some reports on the virus's buildup in sections of Pangaea, the massive unclaimed continent to the far west, across the sea. But as no players were even strong enough to succeed the kingdoms, few made it further to small camps along the shores of the land. The actions of the Central to remove the players seemed to work, as no real injuries were reported from the investigation team. From what I was getting from messages Reeks would send me along with the mixed in love letters, it looks very much like he's returning to an act from before, despite the utter silence from the game makers on what to do with my character, being seen many times in events in April in the lands of Strone and Azurfire. I figured I would hear about their decision to cough me up as a mere fluke or program error that people saw, but no. Gavin told me a few days ago that a rumor was on the web that a person who was brought in to play me. While others say I wasn't hurt, it was just a ploy to drive up game sales. Either way, I feel that if I do escape, it might be the best. I use the chameleon pen to hide my actions best. While not training with Gavin, in the brief moments I could get out of the view, or when I could tell Melissa was passed out drunk at the controls, I would practice the Genesis power to test its limits. What I discovered with the power is that it allowed me to craft items in the game, but it had limits. The more powerful the item or thing I wanted to change or call into existence, the longer I had to focus on each detail. At no time was I able to return to the slowed world that I got when I fought the pirate captain, and after thinking things through, I figured out why it happened. I tried to recreate the world around me while the game and the several players were active. Thus, I was creating a very straining pull of information that overloaded the system and caused the game to lag, as I'm only partially a fragment of the game that had little effect in my actions. In my practice with power, I was able to craft 2 new magic items for me, as well as the alter my chameleon pen. The first item I crafted was a robe that was able to store and keep fresh food and large amounts of drinks, yet prevented me from feeling any weight. For weeks now, I've stored the remains of my meals in my cloak, building up my supplies for every day I had to leave, if I had the urge or not to. The next thing I crafted out of it was a sword I could found so useless early in my travel. I reformed its magical power into a set of gauntlets that created an illusion of any melee weapon I cared to show. In many ways linked to the chameleon pen, it would let me mimic almost any class or character I wanted to disguise myself as. I leave the Cloak of Shadows out of my regular supplies. While it has some use, I find as long as I wear it, I am to make no even greater use when I add the improvement of hiding my signature from the computer network, allowing me to appear as a strange blur of my surroundings and code. While I had to seek Nev and Gab's help in aiding the feature to it, I told them a convincing lie about how I felt it may be useful to hide my location from the hacker, which in many ways was not much of a lie. It is true, with the pen active, likelihood of the hacker finding me is down significantly. But so are the computers of Central, and both the investigation team and the team of Floor 47. I will be able to move about the game without anyone figuring out who I am. The second benefit was the fact that I was able to drop and hide from the program feed that is set to record my actions. I just need to test the pin fully out and see if it works as I planned. And I already know the perfect time to test it. Tonight, just before the launch of the game. In my downtime, I was able to build a plan and mainly eliminate some people from my list. But I still need to seek out Min and Masaru and investigate both of them. I plan to hop a boat bound for Argyo and try and get Emi and Amayo, in hopes that they will get me to Masaru to speak to me. And then I would make my way to the most likely candidate, Men. But unlike the investigation team, I haven't ruled out the hacker as an outsider of the games. Thus, I've stocked up on scrolls of messaging for when I need to send them for help from the others. If Min comes clean, then I'll do my dumbest action, but one I stand in my only remaining choice, and that is to return to the scene of the accident, to the central grove where Dark Mistress attacked us all. I will go to confront her, hoping that she will still hesitate to kill me, as her plans have yet to be completed. It's a long shot. However, I have the threat of facing even more challenging encounters than the pirate captain. I made sure to ask Gavin for more supplies of the medicine he created, and sent Neb several times to gathering healing potions and other magical healing items to use in emergencies. I try to blame it on my minor injuries I incurred during training. With luck and hope, I'll get away with my plan, but I fear that they may be playing along with the game, all while knowing full well my plans to flee the castle alone in search for my attacker. Today, however, is a quick recap. As Gavin goes over the training I have received, I work hard to perform each action we have worked through perfectly in time, in between the exercises of bringing up questions of the night's events. Well, Melissa will be a bit busy with the live concert performed at the stadium by Angela Mastique. There will be fireworks to go off when the light launch starts. Many people are taking the day off all around the world tomorrow to play the game and even sit back watching the events play out on each other in each kingdom. The remaining 12 heroes are all in charge of putting on events in the kingdom's territories. It doesn't take any difficult math to figure out the reason why a superstar's concert is due to my accident, and efforts the players to forgetting my dilemma as my body remains fighting for its remaining life in a hospital bed. It's a shame you cannot go out and see it, Fawn. We set up an illusion that will change her songs showing the areas of the kingdom, inviting the audience into our world for just a mere taste. I was never in the in crowd. It was hard not to know who Angela Mystique was. Often the headlines of my efforts to promote the game would be foreshadowed by the actions of the mega singing star, known for her incredible range of vocals, along with more incredible habit of landing in some kind of major scandal. Part of me wonders if she does it on purpose to gain more attention, and even greater on if she tried to work as a major publicity stunt to draw attention away from my accident. Still, while her life is set train wreck, it doesn't stop her from building an audience and bringing down the house with her songs. The tower staff must be working hard to claim the minds of the players to keep the game sales strong on the east coast of the U.S. So, the Coliseum will mark the best place to head for the events of the night. That is my target when I sneak out. Even better, as Gavin pointed out to me, Melissa will be distracted from keeping an eye on me. I just hope so will everyone else. I do kind of wonder what I would do for my district had the accident not occurred. Surely a feat of strength like I did in the beta launch would be looked as a boring repeat. Maybe by now the PR would have trained me to sing a song much like Angela, doing my own steed. Reeks would likely date every woman who played the game, and his, or perhaps just the version that works on the hard to gain my attention to the world would. The twins would likely do a comedy act. I once sat in on their bit. Amayo would stand there telling straight-faced, silly responses to odd questions that Emmy would come up with. It's not bad when you can understand the language, and my translation program seemed to do well with it. But the difference in humor between US and Japan made some of the jokes fall flat in their translated form. I would see them along with what others may come up with Yet I know full well the best chance of seeing anything will be soon. My best hope to slip out the castle and to the Colosseum, I so desperately want, however, to hear what the world outside world about the world outside the game. Excuse me, I'm kind of off on that today. It's the only issue that, with all I face, seems to be avoided. The best I know is that my body is barely holding on, and more heartbreaking, so is my mother. She hasn't returned since the first day. Melissa says Mom just finds it too weird carrying a conversation with me, but not me at the same time. Given Melissa's increased drinking as of late, tells me their things aren't good. That what they may be hiding from me is news of the worst kind. So I hold out that my being banned from attending the events may turn out some info I don't know about. As Gavin decides to call it a day, I can tell their plan is to return me to my room and lock me in. My escort is a computer-controlled NPC servant that has been programmed to serve me in every way I needed. I know the woman isn't real, but her kind and warm face and smile were designed to grant me comfort. I would be there lying if I didn't feel at ease with her by my side. Gavin walks us to my room. Now, Fawn, I know tonight will be hard for you, but it's for your safety. Please understand. I know. They aren't going to be doing this to harm me, so I can't feel any pain about having to leave them. Simply nod at Gavin and reply to him with a simple thank you. He shuts the door with my servant and me in the room. I soon hear a metal clank assuring me the door has been locked from the outside. The servants gathered a spread of food, cooked chicken and veggies, which sits with a steam pouring off of them. But for now, my focus is not on the food. It's not important. Instead, I grab the fork on the table and begin to focus my power on craft the one last item for me. Since I have prepared for this test, I have my stuff ready for my escape. Plan very much to do just that tonight, only with one slight difference. While my plan to escape calls for leaving the shadow cloak behind, tonight it'll be a vital item to help me escape the encasements, hidden without raising suspicion of my plans. I decide to wrap and pack the storage cloak in my bag, as I'm unable to wear them both. But I do feel it would be useful to have access should something go wrong. Originally, when I was planning my escape, I was planning on using the magic mirror to bring me to the boat. However, tonight, that is not an option. As to prevent my sneaking out of the streets, they removed it from my room. So my only hope out of the castle is to use my shadow cloak to hide me from the guards. As I hold the cloak, I can't help but think back to my last escape attempt that failed. Only that time, I didn't have the magic and powers I do in the game. I tear a piece of the chicken while I place the chameleon pen. I placed an image of a younger woman with whitish blonde pigtail hair, which makes it hard to not worry about if it does show through the cloak. The skin and eyes mimic my old one, but my clothes and gauntlet take on the form of a bright blue and red robes, with a simple gnarled scarf. Since my ebony staff is too recognizable, I make sure it, along with my collection of food, is added to my holding close items. I make sure to leave my room, or sure my room looks very much like I left it, will return at any moment. However, there's no mistaking the look on my servant. She's puzzled and wants to warn the guards of the strange woman stealing food from the princess's room. I think deep in my head and cast a sleeping spell, knocking out the servant. While it be invisible, if she were to raise the alarm before I escape, I would surely fail before the cloak's magic was used up. I watch as her body collapses on the ground. I then act quickly and throw my bag across my shoulder and follow it with the shadow cloak, leaving its hood down until the task in the room is done. I pull out the fork from earlier and approach the door. I close my eyes and place concentration and focus on my mind. As I open my eyes, I see the key to my room in my hand. I move quickly to place it in the lock and turn. As I push the door open, I throw the hood over my head and vanish from view. I make it near the town square when the cloak's magic fades and becomes useless. I take a stop at the fountain and switch cloaks. Try to gather my surroundings. The town square is swimming with activity as new players are running about, admiring details of my work earlier, and I look up at the series of crackles and bangs of fireworks show the start of the evening's events celebrating the game's launch. Come one, come all to Noyox's concert celebration. It is set to begin in mere moments. The Mid-City Coliseum, shouts a programmed town crier. I watch as some make their way there, while others find them interest late in the task of the game. I start to make my way to the performance, but halt at a familiar sight of one I have yet to see in months of my journey. There in the royal stables is Caramel. Despite the game's NPCs not remembering me, with the pen on, my linked connection to the beautiful creature shows as it leans in and accepts my touch. But I am stopped as a guard walks up. Hey girl, that horse is royal property. Stay away. I quickly remove my hand, but not my gaze as I smile. The last time I saw him was when I was mounted creature attacked, and I tried to flee the system's cleaning. It is good to see he has returned and still waits for me. Part of me wishes I could alter my plans and take him with me, but surely his signature in the system would get me caught before I even reached the next kingdom. So I turn with a smile set on my face and join the crowd entering the stands of the Coliseum. I arrive fairly early as I find I'm not far from the stage set up in a few steps. I can see all around me as players and kingdom staff gather to look on before the lights begin to fade. I hear a strange yet all too familiar sound hit my ears as a wheezing starts to build within me. The actions I have recently taken have placed a toll on me, and now I start to gain a sense of dread as the first person I see walk on stage is one that I know all too well. Melissa. I will ask you all to please keep order here tonight. We are excited about the events and your welcoming to our kingdom. But keep in mind we wish you all of you to have fun and be safe in the game. Be it tonight or on each night. In a moment we will begin our event of the evening, but before that we want to introduce a few of our fellow members of the kingdom to you. While the audience is on their feet screaming characters' names of people they have never met, yet have watched over the last 5 months play out before them, I find myself looking away, trying to calm my nerves as Melissa calls out Gavin, Nev, even the king himself. They are not aware of my escape, a thrill that should put me at ease, but still, my nerves do not calm down. I take a deep breath, just as a sudden deep tone of bass guitar hits my ears. I know the performance is underway. I watch as Angela is lowered onto the stage in an outfit that mimics a star, fitting the kingdom for which it represents. All around us, the stand and even the people fade as an illusion builds. and I see myself, just myself and Angela, as if we were the only two people in the whole world. If it weren't for the constant banging of the man next to me, I would guess it was. In fact, some working of the virus, but no, the illusion that Gavin spoke about. I watch as all too familiar forest builds around us. The forest outside the city where I first met the virus and the monster boar. The trees fly by as Angela sings, begins to follow this or flow, and she opens with one of her classic tunes about a dark yet hidden love she claimed to be real. The scene bursts through the ending as they approach a massive lake I know to be to the north of the forest, and the magical monsters and creatures move in and act as backup dancers as she moves into the next song. The imagery dives into the lake, fades to blue, and erupts into the coast in a harbor just outside the city. The image moves in quickly, and then I see something I didn't work on before. Adorning the top of the castle is a statue of me. Massive in its size, I wonder if it's truly there now, or if it's planned to be added. But then, I'm answered as the statue crumbles and bursts open, revealing Angela ready to do her next song. But the image causes my heart to fall. I tune out the song and begin to make my way past the invisible crowd, to my eyes as I try to head out of the stadium. I make to an aisle by the time the song ends and the scene fades to black. Surely the next song will come, and a new scene that will occur only to hurt me more will come. I can't bear it anymore. I take a step up to the stairs in the aisle when the words Angela states hits me with dread. We're all regretful the princess was hurt, as she was. But I have been told she lives on. Yet magic has twisted her, and now I'm told by the game's makers to announce a unique quest of the world. I hear us shouting, hit the mic, and recognize it as Gavin shouting to ask what is going on. Almost as if they were taken back by this news. I turn to look back at the stage. There is my image, larger than life, behind Angela. Yet it's twisted and evil-looking in some way. The Dark Princess Quest. Find her, destroy her, and claim her legendary staff and the title of Grand Hero of Noyox. Suddenly, I see the king appear as he grabs Angela. What is the meaning of this? The king states in shock. Don't pretend you don't know, your highness. You were the one, after all, to give the order. The entertainer laughs off the statement. Shock is all over the face of the king. This is not the work of my team, and this quest, like this, can only be made by someone higher up. Then it hits me. The one that doesn't play the game, that wants revenge for his humiliation. Bart Hauser. He's just played his hand by turning me into a walking target for the entire world to hunt. I watch as the image of me catches fire and starts to burn slowly, yet making sure the evil-looking face is the last to burn. Tears begin to form in my eyes, and I go to wipe my face, but I knock my pen loose. I try to grab it quickly, and do it, but it's too late, as the illusion suddenly drops, and I stand on the stairs, with the guards running towards me and eyes of my friends in shock. Run away, Fawn! You must get away! Melissa screams. We will try to correct this, Nev assures me. Both Gavin and the king also shout words, but the crowd is trying to reach me before I can hear them. And if it weren't for the city guard still to be programmed on my side, I would have surely been slaughtered instantly. As soon as I make it to the hallway, I begin to run at a faster pace, but my work at my best, with my shaking hands to secure the pen again. which I do by the time I make it to the doorway. Out, but it's not good enough now. The plan must be enacted now. As I run, I see the posters with horrid faces forming, each cornerstone and every post. I make a mad dash to the harbor as best I can, but I trip along the way. As tears have blinded me, my heart is racing. I don't know how many saw me, or how many can find my new form. It's the same as the one as I was hiding in. But I can't let this happen. I must get up and flee. I bring myself to about my feet and work hard, moving by memory to the docks, and the sudden change of stone under my feet to wood assures me that I have done as I hoped. I wipe my eyes and look about to find my plan is now lost. My hunters surely on me, but my means of escape, the boat to Arguo, is not at dock. Nor will it be today. No, it's not to arrive for 3 days. I know as I kept track of the best days of my escape. Using the royal ship would only help them track me more. All this hope is lost. I dropped to my knees and began to sob as the threat of everything is hitting me. How am I about to suffer death? Is this the plan of the Dark Mistress? Is Bart the Dark Mistress? It matters not what is at hand, as it's my end. My journey will continue no further with no ships to flee by. I raise my head and scream and take in what air I can. When I go to shout, I hear a voice of a character hit my ears. Last call for riders to Perloud. Perloud, the ally to our neighboring kingdom Strone. A ship is docked here. I look at a small vessel. It's a trade ship offering places to ride along the exchange, with helping assure its safe travel. A place of winter's cold. I don't have myself truly ready for the journey. It'll take me further from my target, kingdom of Arguo. But if I plan to make it through the night, it's my best option. I stumble to my feet and make my way to the ship when the man stops me. Halt, girl. You look a bit inexperienced. What good will you be in a fight? I take a moment to rattle a decent answer as I somehow seem weak in my current form, despite being labeled the strongest warrior of the kingdom. I lack much fighting experience, but I'm skilled in many other ways. I shove a pile of gold in his hands, which gets the character to be quiet and lets me pass. I watch as the plank is moved. Not too long after, I step on board, as the city starts to glow, and the more and more of the posters form. Tears hit my eyes as the boat starts to move, and the city passes by. As the sails raise, I see a dark-furred wolf stop at the end of the docks, and I know Melissa is sharing my sorrow. She lets out a sad howl of farewell as I stand on deck watching the city fade, and my hope, ever feeling safe, fades away with her into the night sky filled with fireworks. File source end. Accessing linked materials. Security cameras floor 47, 48, and 49 of Onyx Tower. That's it! Shouts in a rage Rick Mathers. Nearly rips the helmet off of his chair as he gets up from it. He starts to make his way through the door, only meets the wall of muscle and height known as Moses in his way. Calm down, Rick. We don't know who made the order until we... Rick shoves his co-worker and forces his way past. I have a way to find out. The damn woman up on floor 49 now. I'll get the answer from her. Either you are with me, or you can stay the hell away, Moses. Rick may be smaller, but is strong enough to shove past Moses. She's not an employee of the tower, and her bodyguards will have you in seconds before you can get a damn thing, and you know it. Moses reaches across Rick's shoulder and turns to Rick around. Suddenly, Rick slams his fist in a glass wall in the hall, smashing it, causing his hand to bleed. They're hunting her like a dog. They don't believe us. First they nearly kill her, and now this. At least let us all get together and civilly approach this. Moses tries to calm Rick down, all while looking at the hand dripping red on the cracked white glass and sheetrock wall. Civil. Our co-worker, no, our friend is fighting for her life in two worlds. One where her body is laying in a hospital, looking at hooked up to machines to breathe, while the other is where they hunt her for a prize for the sport of it. And you want to be civil. A person's life is at stake here, Moses. Moses looks away from Rick. Oh my God, you still doubt me. Doubt it, don't you? I never said that, Rick. Moses replies, shaking his hands in a sign of disagreement. No. Then tell me, Melissa and Gavin have been aiding her these last few months. What have you done? Hell, even Alex has done his share of helping out. You sit there, keep doing your job as if nothing happened. Moses grits his teeth and punches Rick. It's not true. I've done your job. A job I didn't ask for, but the game is to move on. And running the kingdom without help from two of its members is hard enough. I've been making sure we all still have a job so we can help her. You think I don't care about Jamie? I'm the only one that still calls her that. You know her real name. You, Melissa, Gavin, hell, the whole damn world refers only to the character, not the player. In your minds, Jamie's already dead, and only Fawn has a chance at living. Gavin walks in as Moses looks down at Rick, who's staggering to his feet. Where do we go now? Gavin repeats as he breathes heavily. We go up to see the damn singer, find out where she got her order for the quest. Rick wipes his jaw and stares hard at Moses. Then we move on. What about Melissa? Gavin. She'll join us later. She wants to see Fawn got away safely. Gavin nearly breaks into the labored speech as he thinks of Melissa and Fawn. So then, after all this, you will still go. Moses looks at Rick's blood streaming both down his hand and his jaw. Yeah. But thanks for the punch. You're right. We need to be more civil with this girl. Are you coming? Rick looks at Moses with a calmer attitude. If nothing else, because I'm the only cool head here. So yeah. Moses moves to walk into the elevator. 3 men make their way to the elevator and push to go up. When it arrives, they enter, but Gavin quickly steps out. Sorry, guys. It's just, she's a major star and kind of, Understand. Work on the game. Make sure there are no surprises on the way. Also, if you try to find out how Fawn got out of her room, because I believe I instructed for her to be locked in her room for her safety. Rick looks around, face of Gavin with a stern look, despite the blood leaking out of his lip, which he seems to not be bothered by. Come on, Moses. Let's go have a chat with Miss Superstar. The elevator door closes, and Gavin is left to shamble back to his room. Moments later, the elevator door opens on floor 49, and the two get out. Small areas roped off for investigation crew. At that moment, only consists of Agent Esteban and the hacker Rutashi. Esteban takes note of Rick and his wounds, but if he plans to stop him, it doesn't show as he gives a simple nod in the 2 men's direction. The 2 walk over to the larger area where the very large men, one of which almost matches Rick's build with the height of Moses. Sorry, gentlemen. But Miss Mystique is not seeing fans right now. One of the big ones sees Rick, swoons, and looks at the other. Nor do we want any trouble. Rick is unraveled by the guard's size, but the potential experience in fighting beyond his fists brawls. Listen, we have questions for your boss. She started a quest that was not approved by our team. As Fawn's team, we have a right to know who gave her the right to announce that quest live at a concert. A slick-haired man walks up, his weasel face set in almost frozen grin from obvious amounts of plastic surgery. Gentlemen, I'm sorry to hear that, but my client cannot be disturbed as her contract still is going on, or concert's still going on. A concert I believe you all are supposed to be hosting. Now, I would hate to call your superiors and let them know your failure to do your job, but the weasel-like man stops speaking as Agent Esteban walks up to join Moses and Rick, then reaches in his pocket and pulls out his FBI badge. Excuse me, sir, but I'll have to ask you as a vital member of the international issue, and it falls in my lap, with your clients placing the potential life of a person at risk. I ask you cooperate. Or, if you like, I can call my friends downtown. We'll be willing to talk to you and your client in some place far less comfortable, to answer the man's questions. Angela's been in trouble with the cops before, even arrested. It'd just be good PR, I assure you, the weasel man replies and starts to walk away. Sir, you seem to be mistaken. I meant the police. Last I checked, my badge says FBI. And being just outside D.C., where we have this nice little building where the whole agency operates from, is a bit different. You see, police have to worry about things like jurisdiction and whatnot. While me, my jurisdiction is the whole country. My partner, who is on dinner break, just about covers the parts of the world I don't. So you better think hard if there's not so much to be jaywalking charge outstanding on the two of you. Or else you will be facing a very long and not so pretty time in jail. The weasel man swallows and turns around, and his grin faded briefly. But he takes one step and places a now uncomfortable smile right back on. Of course, my good sirs. What I meant to say is that we were given the information to continue to get our spoken script for Miss Mystique by your superiors from the floors downstairs. Before the name is mentioned, Rick is already headed to the elevator to see Agent Esteban alongside him. Mr. Hauser is the one who gave us the order request. The weasel man finishes, but his smile fades as he sees the men leaving. As he speaks, Moses jogs to catch up with the two as the elevator door opens and they begin to step in. You don't need to come with me. Come with us, Esteban. Doesn't concern you, Rick says as his eyes turn to a fixed cold stare forward as the door shuts. The way I see it, I don't have to. I'll have 2 attempted murders instead of 1. Esteban flashes a reassuring smile to Rick. Wait, so what you said to that guy is true? As a shocked Moses, Esteban looks up at Moses. Oh. Yeah, well, it's still unknown, but if the court rules that Fawn is Jamie's living consciousness, and an active threat is a threat on her life, so attempted homicide charges would be fitting, don't you think? Esteban raises an eyebrow. Plus, while I can guess who punched Mr. Mathers in the face, I can tell I won't stop him. The elevator door dings open and Rick is quick-footed and steps off the elevator first. But Agent Esteban hastily moves to keep up. His movement isn't quick enough to keep Rick from kicking out the office chair from under Bart's rear, sending a middle-aged game designer crashing to the floor. Esteban grabs Rick's arm, but not too tightly, as the three men are taken by surprise as Bart is laughing from the fall. I was wondering when you sorry little mind would be here, Mathers. You're worried your little code pet is gonna die at the hands of the players, aren't you? Rick flicks his wrists and breaks free, grabbing at Bart, hoisting him up with his good arm. But Moses shocks Rick as he takes over the lifting. Bart letting Rick's hands free, stand for hands free. Why? Why are you doing this to her? She did nothing to you. Rick is spitting at the mouth as he goes to raise his bloody hand. But Esteban raises his hand and grasps a fist, and Rick sucks back air in his teeth from the pain. No, Rick, you'll only hurt yourself more. I'll handle the punishment from here. You need to act with a cool head. Try not to hurt your cause anymore. Esteban stays with a cool head and reaches in his pocket, again pulling out his badge and then quickly following a pair of handcuffs. I did this for the humiliation you put me through, Rick. Bart shouts at Esteban, shaking his head. Okay, and that confesses. Bart Hauser, you're under the arrest for the attempted murder of Jamie Eve. Esteban reaches around and cuffs the wrist of Bart. Murder? I had no part in the hacker's actions. Bart responds, snapping with glee for his actions. I did nothing to harm her. Well, currently the evidence points to you into the mind of Miss Eve being in the form of one Fawn Midden in the game. Yet, you just made her the target of a sick game of revenge, and as for your connection to the hacker, you do match the profile. So for now, I'm willing to take my chances that you're our guy, and we will let the courts and evidence speak for your actions. I didn't do anything wrong. It's just a rogue program, and Rick is the real criminal. Let me go. I want a lawyer. Esteban takes control of Bart and walks him out the room. When Rick's DOS rings and he reaches in with his bad hand, wincing the pain, and presses the box aside to answer. Hey, Melissa. Any good news? We have the person behind the quest, and Rick pauses in calming nature. In his face, to one shocking, drops to the floor. What is it, Rick? What does Melissa have to say? Did Jamie get away? Moses asks, puzzlement on his face. Fawn got away. Moses looks upset when Rick says this. I just told you several minutes ago about the name. Jamie is... Rick holds his hand up to stop Moses from speaking. Fawn escaped. But Melissa just got off the phone line with Jamie's mom. The hospital is pulling the plug on Jamie's equipment. Jamie is going to die soon, and only Fawn will live on. Report end. Accessing next report. Oh, we're doing 2 reports tonight, so I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the next one for you guys. It looks like we're further up or below than we should be. But yeah, that is how a chapter ends. Literally with Fawn escaping, but Jamie not. What will be in the hands, and what is to come of Fawn and her venture on the sea? Again, we shall see. In the next chapter, Friends and Fools. Accessing personal logs of Princess Fawn Midden. I can still hear Melissa's howl in the air. When I take off the chameleon pen to alter the form, I don't want to take any risks and try to make a quick change a quick one. With fears that the stadium full of players saw my transformation, not to mention the definite attention the systems placed on me, most likely showing myself before millions around the world and watching across broadcasts. To hasten things, I keep the class of the character, figuring It is the last thing noticeable. It's nothing more than run as a character. So I focus instead on my outer appearance, shifting the form to a smaller, pale redhead girl with freckles. The clothing is also altered to a combination of leather and light robes, with a bathing suit look to it to match the look of the common Azurfire players. I'm glad I made such a choice when I turned to make my way to the lower levels of the cargo ship, as I find a small collection of players have gathered here. Seeing it is a good way to travel in the world without having to pay for ticket fees. Also, more often the ship houses a mini dungeon in the travel, where the players can fight off rats and other creatures attacking the stock. So, with some fortune, my plan to change before going below deck helped hide my form from players that surely would have questioned where the blonde girl went. And when the redhead showed up, well, most of the players I spy are ones from Noyox. I notice in the far corner a player that is in this position of rest is from another kingdom. It's easy to tell, as his race is called a Kurl, a half-slime, half-human combination. From the kingdom of Emeros. Hard to believe someone from here, who just got in the game, came to part of this world, so the best I can gather is either they are a staff member, or maybe a beta player that has moved on through the game. Seeing him not moving, just sitting, squatting, I take my chance to rest near him, and I look about my map for suggestions, but he breaks the silence when I approach. Hey there, sweetie. You don't look as excited as the rest of these freshies. The slime speaks, Leshies. I recall Gavin using the term, but never expected to hear it from another person. Used Gavin, a unique language in calling new players. By such a name, it makes it sound like they're just a bag of meat going out in to be eaten. But then the virus hunting people, I guess it can be said about the player in a game. Sorry, I thought you were resting offline. You didn't see many people from Emeros here. I paused, thinking it might be giving something away. I mean, I've played since beta launch, and I never saw one player from there in my time. Likely the time zone difference. I work nights in Tempore, so I have lots of free time in the game in my time off. Unlike others in the fall, under the regular of Emeros. I guess you're not interested in the festivities of the world celebration of game launch. I looked puzzled at the town name he gave, but I nod to his question. Tempore? I wish I paid more attention to the world's government class. I'm sorry. Trying not to upset him, I pass a smile and pull off the honest blank expression to find where the man comes from. I get a stronger look at the man in all sense of the game as he stands out. It's more like a scientist in a white lab coat with an illusion of a shaggy hair behind thick glasses. The only real outstanding look I find fitting is the white coat. Is tanned sewn leather that drapes instead of sturdy-looking armor. His brownish hair and reddish skin all bear translucent look, even shines brighter when the light of the lamp hits his skin in the brightest points. Of course, the fact his face, while round, doesn't have any real features, only shifts in color and form to form a mouth or eyes that make him look slightly a bit creepy to look at. Tempore is in Finland. Don't worry. I guess from your failure, you know that you must be American. Are you from the city of Hollywood? On this, I can't help but laugh at the man. But I am shocked at first, only to recall my current clothing states that I'm a player from Azurfire, which covers the west coast of North America. I find it difficult not to come up with a good cover story. Now, I'm from Vegas. Besides, Hollywood isn't an actual city. It's just a segment of Los Angeles. The first thing coming to my mind is Reek's own home at Las Vegas Tower. I listen as he laughs at my correction of his worldly knowledge. Gillen. Pleased to meet a pretty face in my travels. He smiles back, but I find it hard to see his eyes behind the massive thick glasses on his character. But the translucent skin on his face becomes a bit more reddish in tone around his cheeks. I try to think of a good name to give him. Quinn. What was that? For some reason, when coming to a false name, all I could think of was a girl who used to bully me in middle school to hide my own. Well, Miss Quinn, what brings you to travel along the ocean voyage to the wintry wastes of Perlau, if I may ask? Gillen's smirk doesn't clear, but the red tone in his face does. I find my bewilderment at the question he posed to me. In my effort, I make up a fake story. I couldn't find a way to be blunt, out of reasoning in my gathering on the ship, let alone the slow-moving voyage like this. I stand with a visible, dumb look of mouth open while I try to think of an answer that won't come. Gillen steps in. Sorry. I guess you're kind of like myself, wanting to take in this massive world of artistic creation. Never really thought of it in the words of Gillen, but as he went on, I got a glimpse of what this world was like to an outsider. This is in many ways larger than our own world. In it, countless numbers of artists each spent time developing every nook and cranny of the world. It's like when the first explorers of the world went into new lands and questioned just who was powerful enough to create such a piece of natural brilliance. In the real world, we call that man God. But here in this world, it's a collective of voices, each placing their signature and style into their work. Tell me, have you heard the legend that there are no two snowflakes are the same? I stand still, in the mouth open, gaping from the possibility, the first world creation art critic I can think of. But, lucky this time, I catch his question and focus on the proper answer. Yes, I'm familiar with it, though I do have to admit I'm not used to snow. In many ways, my words aren't lies. I was in panic in my first year of college when the temps outside the DC area had gotten below the 50s, and expected any day to wake to mountains of snow in the roads. My childhood in Miami prevented me from experiencing cold temperatures outside a winter swim in the oceans when the water became rather uncomfortable. Once up in DC for college, I finally saw snow in the early months of my second semester. It was strange seeing the way my reaction was erratic from my roommate from the time who'd come from Chicago area. When the snow finally fell, I couldn't contain my excitement, while she just kind of grumbled on how pathetic the locals were getting about in the weather. Since then, I would spend several winters, and some snows came earlier. I would always hear stories from some further northern people about deeper snows, and I can't even imagine such a hefty amount that is even possible to deal with, let alone have people live in it. I look at Jillian and question how familiar he is with the stuff from his native land. Well, you see, I heard a story from a friend of mine. The snow in Perloud is like credits to the staff there. Instead of having their names placed in some directory and on a website, each member of the kingdom added their names to a snowflake that falls. Jillen's words stunned me. Could a group truly do such a thing? Black Clover was sure of themselves to acknowledge the army of staffers in the game in the credits of the game. These went on, ignored by many players, I'm sure, but it never even occurred to our group to do such a task for Noyox. Many staffers scoffed at the crew of Perloud, and often in groups meetings the group looked down at as the weakest of the other kingdoms. As much the staff was assigned there from elsewhere in the world, what we decided was a form of punishment. Perloud was also known as the White Kingdom, as it ran through the bases in Africa. The tower was based in Cape Town due to the constant internal struggles of the countries. It stood as the smallest tower, and instead the company settled in the smallest branches throughout the countries they were willing to take part. But when the towers opened and they brought in people from around the world to work in the kingdom instead of hiring local people, several governments took action on removing Black Clover from their countries. In the days leading up to the beta, they were still struggling with getting the kingdom up and running. While the company took on many local Ps, their gracious hosts, most of the staff showed they little experience at handling the system, let alone computer basics it took to operate the game. The troubles they had established in the towers surely would have gotten more press and tarnished the game's reputation had the earthquake in San Francisco and the complete devastation not buried the bad news and goodwill efforts by the company. I would love to see if that story is true. I bring a small but visible smile as I truly enjoy hearing the urban legends Yelena told me about the world. Surely there are all kinds of urban legends building around this newly born world from people. Then my answer to his early question on why I'm headed that way hits me. I guess I wanted to see what kind of world they created in Perloud. So, often you hear of Azurefire, Argio, Noyox, and Ruyer, that you don't see the rest of this world has for you to explore. The look as Jillian's face grows wide, with a glowing grin that what I can only assume passes for trying to make teeth appear on a creature that has no real mouth. That's the spirit. I knew you weren't like these other people. Just out to see if you can find treasures in a unique area, which could fetch you a hefty sum on the markets elsewhere. Though, we'll say, not much to see back in Imerus, unless you're in for the whole rolling hills into deep forests. The whole thing in the countryside on the outside, I guess it's kind of boring. That's why I bothered skipping Noyox. You skipped Noyox? Because it reminds you of home? This is the first time I find my actual work outside my duties as princess being critiqued. Well, I do move about the capital of Midden. To see the work of the artists that never found so much of their work was just a sham copy of the great architects of the Dark Ages. Sad, really. Groups that get most of the focus not only show more originality. I find my teeth in such a tight clasp, they feel like they're about to fuse permanently into one solid piece. How dare this jerk treat my hard work like this? My fury blinds me to his speech as he goes on. But I can't blame them, I guess. From what I hear, they're more detailed and camera-focused kingdoms. I believe they were told what to create to make a unique feel for each place, and perhaps because so many other games in the past that focus on magical kingdoms, one's a Noyox that makes design rather repetitive and boring for more exotic locales of the world. I could still feel the tense nature in my jaw, and now my fist was calming as he hit the nail on the head. While I was given the freedom to design the look of the buildings and their textures and aging, their form pretty much was given to me to follow a cookie-cutter layout, placed out by higher-up designers. Still, I guess Noyax is about the celebrity of it all. Shame about the young princess, though. I nod and decide to just quietly listen to Jillind as I go on and as an outside observer of my own world and of my life. But before I know it, I begin to doze off, an exhaustion of my long day passing out as Jillind is commenting on the artistry of the princess's fighting style and the arena during the beta launch. Despite the cold floor, I soon find myself leaning over on my new traveling companion's soft and smooth shoulder. File source end. Accessing alternative file. Black Clover, floor 47 meeting room. Security cameras. The devastation of the crew, floor 47, hits around their meeting room. The table with sorrow filling their faces as they meet the latest news to hit the struggles to save Jamie. Can't believe they can go through with such a decision. Moses sits, wiping the outline of his face in a futile effort to shake the sleep from his restless eyes. The hospital says that this point is not likely she'll ever wake up from the coma, while the equipment to keep her body alive is running an expensive cost of the health care to cover. Melissa sits, pout face, and a bottle of whiskey in front of her. She looks at her empty shot glass and reaches to pour some of the translucent brown liquor in her glass and her empty soul, but the hand of Alex gets in the way and prevents her from proceeding. You've had enough. Jamie wouldn't like to see you kill yourself over her, Alex says, sternly. What do you know? You know what she would want. You only know her in-game, Melissa screams back. She's like family to the rest of us. Here we can't do a damn thing but sit back and let her pass away. Quietly, while part of her is fighting for a way out. For the hope of getting out. Yes, I don't know, Jamie, which is why I can think clearer than most of you that aren't already wasted in alcohol or whatever poison you choose to place in your systems. Alex looks at Melissa and then shifts to the others in the room. Rick collapses in the chair in the corner, with no real expression on his face. Gavin sits in his usual spot, but for a change, it's not eating himself silly with a collection of pizza before the team. Even the investigation team is gathered to help plan the next move of the crew as Jamie's body hangs on the end. Look, as the only sober, competent member of this team, I suggest we take action where we can. How? The mind of the hospital is made up. They're removing the instruments of Jamie. She's being haunted thanks to some vengeance plans of Bart's in-game sport. Oh, and let's not forget the looming cloud of death that is the virus program. And the insane hacker we have no clue on their location. That can show up and kill any of us if we give it and try to get involved in helping Jamie. Moses drops his forehead to the table to feel the cool surface invite him there, to lay there and give in. How about we go to the media with this? I mean, it's going to come out when Bart's arrest is made clear, isn't it? Rick looks up at the agents for the sign of hope. Right now, we have him under arrest under suspicion that Fawn is Jamie. But unless you can get solid proof from the game, other than witness testimony, then it'll go free. I think having the media would be a help on your issue. However, the investigation has gotten this far because Black Clover is cooperating with it. and even helping us in getting the info we request, Agent Esteban states. So if we go to the press and spill it all out, then we likely will be shut down completely. Rick squeezes his fist closed. The company won't acknowledge her accident as an attack. Gavin looks down at his feet in discomfort of it, find his words. We could just leak the info on Jamie's life support being cut. Rick looks about for a hopeful ledge to grasp in the personal mountain of climb. People have already started to ignore Jamie. They see Fawn as a computer program, and the fans love Fawn, not Jamie. Moses doesn't even raise his head, feeling like it would take a great effort to remove his forehead from the surface, which it started to warm itself to the body heat. People have already started to ignore Jamie. They see Fawn as a computer program, and the fans love Fawn, not Jamie. Excuse me, I already did that. So then we have no hope. She's dead. If not now, she'll be very soon. Melissa reaches across the table, but Alex drags the bottle of whiskey away, and she instead grabs a box of tissues and drags it closer, blowing her nose. Now, we have a few options. I'll see to what I can do about the media and helping stop the doctors from removing life support for now. I'll need your help, Melissa. And of course, we'll need Jamie's mother willing to help us as well. The table looks at the stern-faced Alex in surprise. How do you expect to do that, Alex? Rick sits up in his chair, eager to hear the plan from the tan, aging ladies' man. We play the suffering mother card. It'll only buy us a week at best, but it'll keep Jamie alive long enough to gather some proof we can present before the media of what happened with the attack, Alex says. And what then? Black Clover shuts us all down. For revealing the game's flaw, Rick makes his way to his feet and looms over the table. We need more time. We don't know what we're looking for. Show the recordings of mine and her battle in Strone on the ship, along with other evidence. We don't have to reveal the company is at fault. Do the opposite and praise them for their actions to defeat the lone hacker that found a way to kidnap a person from their own body. Show the whole problem outside the recent hunt is an action of this lone hacker. This should equally lighten the attack on Fawn in the game. Rick slams his hands down on the table. The media's going to demand more proof than that. What makes you think that they'll just believe us there without exposing the hacker on their own? Words. Rick pauses and face jars up the thought of his own words. You want to expose the hacker to the world. Make their actions known. You're going to paint a target on all our backs. We don't know the hacker's actual location at this time, but if we shake them up and stick our necks out, then the hacker will be forced to take action in the mess. But how do we find the hacker? Agent Esteban scratches his chin, pressing at the newly formed facial hairs. We don't need to. We know where to find the hacker in the game. Alex sits with a confident smile on his face. We just need someone brave enough to go in and poke the lion in its den. Who do you suggest? Yourself? Moses raises his head, already one of his eyebrows rose quizzically in confusion, but is answered as Alex shakes his head no. I'm slow in the game. My leg, I've already been touched by it and affected by the virus. We need a player who's yet to even face the virus, but one stands out strong enough figure. The public can identify who's involved. As I see it, there's only one at the table that fits the bill. Alex turns his gaze to Rick and locks it to there. You said it yourself. care for the girl like she was your own? Will you walk in the Valley of the Dead to meet the Grim Reaper for her soul? You don't have to ask me twice, Rick replies with a grin on his own. Hey now. This is a risk I'm not sure the investigation team can take. Why risk our link to Jamie's team to get answers from? Esteban stops his argument as Ritashi places her hand on his shoulder. Can I make shield program to protect? She struggles through what little English she can muster as she attempts to make a suggestion. You're saying you have a plan to create a shield against the virus? Agent Esteban looks at her and she nods. It will be temporary, she continues as she grabs a dry erase marker and begins to draw on the wall. A code of the virus and the way to restrict the attack for the time of 15 minutes based on similarly on the chameleon pen that Fawn wears, only with shorter lifespan. I was able to find the origin. Agent Esteban steps in to speak clearly so the group can understand. Earlier this week, in the investigation, the virus, we discovered its properties, where it originates, and how it acts and spreads. Group sits in silence, all fixed on Agent Westphal. The virus is not a virus at all. It's a protection program fused with the game's programming to create a real sense of danger in the game. The protection program is set to burn out and trash the delicate electronics of the Neuralink system at the chair should a person hack or alter the equipment beyond the company's design. Somehow the hackers joined the program with a Neuralink program to send static shock, overriding the safety protocols and sending dangerous amounts of electricity to designated areas of the body that are targeted in the game. We're working on an antivirus repair program that can be administered in-game by a selected player to any affected programs. That's saying, however, the hacker doesn't have other ways of using the virus in other programs. Plus, programs still need to be restarted. Thus, infected creatures need to be destroyed to remove the virus from their programming. For now, I can build a protection program. It will only be temporary, I'm afraid, Ritashi explains. As she continues on, Rick's grin turns to a chuckle of joy and exhaustion. Okay, we have a plan then. Melissa, you and Alex will be the team to save Jamie's body. Gavin, you need to track down where Fawn went in the game and keep an eye out for her. Even help her out with the hunters. Moses, I need your help with the SHIELD program to gather the evidence for the media. And we'll try to lock down the location of the hacker for your upcoming meeting, Esteban proclaims with a sense of confidence. Yeah, we all have our pieces to play. We can't afford to fail Jamie, or else she may not have a home to come home to soon. Let's get this going, ASAP team. Rick smacks the table, and the members start to disperse from their seats. When Alex walks up to Rick and holds out a hand for him to shake, which Rick gladly accepts. Listen, Rick. You'll be facing real dangers in there. You need to be prepared for the worst. Call a med team in before you go after the hacker. Understand? Alex taps his left leg to assure the point that Rick to the danger ahead. I'll do what I must, Alex. And look, if I don't make it out of this, you need to promise me you will not stop till Jamie is back in the real world, no matter how long it takes, okay? She will need her white knight. Alex smiles back at Rick. Yeah, I promise. But you know what that's not what I meant about the dangers. This hacker has warped characters and killed people in the game. No telling how powerful this person is in the game. Rick just nods and grins as he turns to walk out the room. Alex is left standing with regret in his stomach for choosing to let Rick lead the hacker in their domain. But he knows it's only when things are truly desperate that such actions seem to be the best ways. File source N. Accessing personal logs. Fawn Midden. I awake to an odd chirping noise and a small peck at my hand from a messenger bird. I always found it odd how they could reach inside dungeons on my days in the outside world. Now I find it even stranger as I'm sleeping on a bench after Jillian finally signed off for the night or day, whatever time it was in his home city. I look at the bird, its tiny yellow and blue feathers with a single red stripe across its chest. It continues to peck at me. Then down at the small stack of letters. I grab them, and the bird quickly flies off. Shuffling through them, I see the ones from Gavin, another from Melissa, and lastly from Emmy, oddly enough. Guess she must have be just as confused as much as the company is with my sudden reappearance from the other night's performance. Not wanting to focus on the possible new issues, I place the letters in my bag and make my way down the ship's kitchen. Once I get there, I see a small quest has been activated from a group of players going about gathering the right ingredients for a recipe from the ship's cook. I move in and grab some of the normal food that is placed in the kitchen for the atmosphere. I grab a chunk of what I can only guess is bacon and a roll of bread with an apple and a small piece of cheese. I sit down and start to eat and watch the two players on the quest run in and out of the kitchen, returning with piles of ingredients, only to have the NPC laugh and then tell them it's either not enough or not the right thing that he's looking for. I eat my meal and dig through my bag, pulling out one of the letters to read while the travel eats away at the day. I dig about my inventory and blindly pull out the letter from Emmy. Big sister, is it true you're still playing in the game? I doubt it to you. Even still, I can't help but wish it was you that the camera saw last night on the broadcast. It would be good for the Master as well if he knew you were still alive. And, well, somehow, since the accident, he has grown so depressed and places the accident and all the issues of the virus on his shoulders. The lives at risk have brought a heavy weight on him. I pray each night that some way that you will recover, that the one we saw in the nook was truly caught. But each day passes and no news on your recovery or the hacker comes to our shores. Please, if you are out there, come and see us. Let us know you're okay in some way. I know this is futile for me to email an unused player, but I feel my strength fading, and I can't keep being the cheerful one of the three of us. Please come back, big sister. The world needs to have a touch of hope. I fold the letter with an upset sigh of grief. Masaru is one of the two people left on my list to investigate, being responsible for the accident. How could I let the pain I will cause on Emmy deepen when I show up and start my inquisition on the Master for the answers of his involvement in the accident? It would break her heart if she knew that Masaru was a suspect in all this mess. I was originally hoping to hop on a boat to Arguo and go see the trio as my next step, but the events of the night before caused my plans to be redirected. With my only chance of fleeing the crowd out of my head to be this ship, Emmy's letter does tell me a few things, however. First, I was spotted on the camera last night, which means the internet is likely awash in rumors of me being alive in the game somehow. Second, Masaru is deeply depressed, or at least he has Emmy thinking he is, and the depression is related into my accident. Normally I could just say it's because he's feeling truly responsible for what happened, but with the investigation, I have to question that option. After all, what I have been told is that Masaru was very upset how the game turned out. His depression may be related to why I have yet to die at the hand of the game yet. I feel compelled to reply to Emmy, but I fear if I respond, it may cause more trouble than I care to get. Not only with the questions that will raise in Emmy's mind, but the chance that central computers may find me and cause my cover as Quinn to be blown. For now, I take the letter and store it back in my bag, with the hope to reply when I get the chance in person later on my journeys. As I place it back, I feel the edge of a second letter and pull it out. This time, it's a letter from Gavin. I run my fingers along the edge, question myself if I want to continue reading, but as I watch the two players running through their quest, I can tell it'll still be some time before the ship docks in Pearloud. This is the best entertainment I can get in my downtime, even if it is the odd geek language of Gavin. So I proceed to open it, and instantly I'm shocked the letter isn't addressed to Fawn, but Jamie. Jamie. Sorry for the news you by now have gotten, but the group has a plan set to deal with the issue. So then, Gavin must have found a possible way to remove the hunt for me from the game. I read on. We need you to be discovered. We need a plan to activate the program broadcast of you to the world. We need to show that you, the real you, are alive to the world. We need to get together to work things out. We know you're on the ship to Pearloud. I'll be in the kingdom when the ship arrives. Please make contact with me to help expose you to the world. What's that? The last thing I need with this hunt is going on. I expose myself and let the cameras broadcast me to all the treasure hunters of the world. They'll hunt me along with who knows else to deal with me running about the world. It's not like the attack on the ship from Strone. Then I wasn't hunted. I was more praised. Now I'm a wanted target, and the last thing I need is exposure. I begin to ball up the letter and toss it when I have a look at the next line. Rick is about to take a great risk to resolve the issue of the hacker. He's going to confront them in the Nook. While in there, he plans to try and track down the hacker's actual location. If he can hold a long enough encounter with the hacker, that is. Please rest and meet with me once the ship lands. We need your help. We all are counting on you. Everyone wants you to save you in both worlds, Gabe. He even signed it with his real name. Something is truly odd about this letter. What does he mean he wants to save me in both worlds? And more to the matter, why is Rick confronting the hacker Dark Mistress in the game? Surely with the actions the hacker has done to people in the game, it's worse to confront the entity where it's strongest. I start to dig away at my bag for the last letter. One from Melissa surely has some clue about what's going on that I have yet to understand. I reach in for it when suddenly I hear a voice hit me. Wow. still on, I see. Jellen's face forms a line and shape of a smile as he sits next to me. You're one real role player, sitting in a mess with food and reading letters. So I guess you got mine from last night. I stand there in a puzzled shape, let out an uneasy smile of my own. Of course, I was just reading it. I try my best lie to my new friend, but rapidly increasing heart rate should be a complete giveaway to him. Really. Please tell me, what did I write you, Quinn? I can tell the slime man is calling my bluff. You wanted to team up as a group after we boat docked in town. I put down the food and the letter, all ready to fight Jilland. Interesting. He reaches out into his pocket and pulls out a letter. I don't recall asking that. Or does the rejected message show that? Of course, you would know that if the letter could be delivered to the mage Quinn of Azurfire. Then that's saying such a character existed in the first place. Of course I exist. Who do you think I am? I try to console the now suspicious companion. I get ready to open the battle, flipping the table, but a glance shows the table is solidly part of the ship. Well, let's say you're just say a certain character ran from a crowd last night, straight under the docks, and is now hiding out in some way hidden here. I look around to see if the two players are in the room and find it to be empty. So what? You plan to attack me for the reward? I won't fall easily, Jillen. I shift my gaze and try to carry a cold, strong force of will upon my stare at him across the table. I'm not going to hunt you down. No. I know when a strong character's before me. And you're the strongest. I can think of, Your Highness. Merely, I want to ask if I can go with you on your journey. Not that strong of a player. And with my goal to journey the world, having you on my side wouldn't hurt to protect me from the threats my wandering will bring me. Now I sit more puzzled than when he first showed. You want me to be a virtual bodyguard for you? I ask in shock. I figure you'd help me out and we travel together, and I'll help keep you hidden from the hunters out there looking for you. So do we have a deal? Jillen raises his hand out to me to shake, and I sit there staring at it. Could I trust this man I met last night so much to have his protect my secret from the world? I have no way out at the moment, and he watches the two players return with another load of goods to the chef. I sigh and start to rise from my seat as Jillen begins to pull away his hand when I grab it and shake. Fine. We have a deal. Just be clear. I cannot let my secret get out to anyone, I whisper to him as we shake. As you wish, Your Highness. Jillen smirks as he responds. I'm sure with that handshake, as if it was before the monitors of the chairs, I would see my single-player status be changed to that of a party member with Jillen. And while I'm unsure of his motives, at least he's not an infected player or dark mistress. File source end. Accessing leaked material. King Valsper Midden log. The light of the teleport fades, and Valsper finds himself in the outer ring of the Nook of Alliance, now corrupted in a twisted form of a dark city that had its code altered. Figures of people, creatures roam about the shadow as Valsper walks down the path to a large collection of towers in the near skyline, when a voice crackles in a boom from the sky above. Testing. Rick, am I coming through? Valsper nods in acknowledgement the voice of the Agent Esteban on the localized speaker set to Valsper's character. Good. I'll be acting as a second set of eyes for you here. Can't do much, but at least I can help keep those infected programs from getting you unaware. Don't worry, I have 15 minutes on the shield. They won't attack me as long as I have it active. Have the other teams had any success in saving Jamie or finding Fawn? A bit of advice. When you're in a dangerous mission, it's best to stay focused on the task at hand. You'll find out about Jamie and Fawn when you come out of this alive. You got me? Valsper starts to run fast-paced for the towers. Then I'll have to get a move on, quickly. Finding the big bad witch. Takes 5 minutes for his time to just navigate the twists and jagged streets to the tower's entrance. You guys have any lock on the location of the big bad? Top floor. Don't get it caught on the stairs. Valsper smiles and laughs at Esteban's warnings, which he thought was very serious. You don't read much in the character classes when you took this job. I don't need stairs with my skill. Valsper places his hand on the wall, and magically glow releases from it. Placing his foot on the wall, he can climb up the sheer wall with a quick, steady movement. I'm coming for you, hacker. And you'll pay for what pain you brought this world, and the pain you brought Fawn. Report end. Accessing next report. Alright, so ends our latest Vante, our travel through 11 Kingdoms. We will be back to 11 Kingdoms probably, I'm gonna see here. Oh, we got 5 Mondays in this month. We'll be back probably on the 23rd. So if you want to continue on with 11 Kingdoms, we'll be doing that on the 23rd. Next week, we're going to be doing another slash fiction. So we're going to be going to another fanfiction.net site and going through and finding some fanfiction to share. Be it risque, be it, we'll see. We're going to find out. As always, if you have a story that you want to be in here, please share it. Leave it in the comments. As always, like, comment, and subscribe, and we will be back tomorrow with our Persona playthrough. Some more, and I hope to see you then. Until then, have a wonderful evening, a wonderful week, and a wonderful year. Good night, everybody.